pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Select convene as Walworth County Planning and Zoning Board. Any old business? New business? Okay, got a motion on the floor. I need a second. I'll second. Get a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Convene as a board of Walworth County Board of Zoning Adjustment. Public hearing for Huffman variance request. Just let that expire.
I'm bringing it up, sorry. Just taking me a minute.
Okay, Jimmy, I guess I'm gonna ask you whether we usually set a time limit, like we're gonna do it like we did
That's what I would do.
it was 5 minutes. And
Sure.
is that all right with the rest of you?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, I guess the first one.
One other thing, do you wanna, I know we had some issues last time with assigning their time. Do you wanna allow that or not?
I personally don't think so.
Okay, that would be my position also.
Okay. I guess the first one on the list here is Doug.
Yeah, and I guess I'm not sure we're applying for a variance, and I would like to hear what the reasoning is for this before I give a comment, if that's acceptable.
Okay, just, or should we have them explain?
I would probably,
Do the reason for the variance first and then have the
Yes,
public.
and then do public comments, yeah.
Kind of makes good sense. Are you guys ready to explain the reasoning?
Okay, my name is Steve Kaiser. I'm involved in the design of the dairy and will also be involved in operating it after completion. The reason we are asking for the variance is this red line through here is a waterway, and it's controlled by the Corps of Engineers. We can apply to move the waterway. We're not sure how much or anything, and we're also really not sure if they'll allow us to do that. It's a 6-month process. So we have to basically act in our design that we can't touch that waterway. And so that's what we're doing. Because they're not, when we contact their office, they're like the federal government. They don't give you a hint of whether they're okay with moving it or not before the 6 months are up. So we're going to act like this waterway can't be moved. And so in the design of the dairy, this is what we call Main Street along the east side here, and that is for cow flow. So all our cattle can be connected through that main street. So we don't have to run any cattle outside the buildings in the wintertime to move them around and all that kind of stuff. So that's why we have the design the way it is. The problem we had is here on the south side with this waterway and the lagoons and the feed pad. We won't have enough room unless we get a variance off of the 300-foot line.
This top blue line is the 300-foot.
This is 300-foot
from the right
setback.
of way.
This is a 100-foot setback from the road. And that setback is from the right-of-way of the road. It's not from the center, it's from the right-of-way. So it'll be 133, the 100-foot setback would be 133 foot from the center of the road. So that's quite a ways. This road is only used by the people on both sides of the road. It dead ends right here. So no, it's not county traffic. There's a person that owns an abandoned farmstead on the end of the road right here. There's no buildings there at all. This will not affect any driving of the road. Won't affect any. I mean, you're only talking 200 foot from Lagoon. It won't affect anything as far as wind patterns, odor, flies. I mean, what's 200 foot to a fly? Nothing. So that's the reason we're asking for this, is for cow flow and animal comfort, because we'd like to keep all these buildings here. Otherwise, we have to move this building across the road or across the waterway, and then we have to haul those cattle back and forth all the time. And so we don't want to do that for animal welfare and comfort purposes. So that's our reasoning.
This is the building Steve's talking about right here.
Yeah.
Where
That
this building would have to go across, which is our heifer barn.
Yeah.
Would have to come over here.
So we would have to haul heifers over there, and then when they're big enough, then they have to be hauled back. So it's kind of hard to do that sometimes in winter. Because we have these cattle are constantly fluctuating. We're going to have about 10 calves a day. Out of those 10 calves, over half of those will be heifers calving. So we're going to have to move at least five head a day over here to this side. And that's something we'd rather not do. So that's the reasons why we're asking for the variance. We don't feel that it affects anybody by changing it from a 300 foot to a 100 feet. There are no houses along this road. There's no people that drive it normally. It doesn't go to anywhere except farm fields. So we feel that it won't affect anybody's day-to-day operations or aesthetic value or anything else. So is there any questions on that? Yeah, Doug.
So you're not on the north side of the quarter, you're not asking for the variance at all?
Well, there is no variance on property lines, just on county roads.
Why-
Property lines, we can build up to the fence, up to the border, as far as I'm concerned. Right? There is no variance, as far as we know. As far as what the attorneys tell us, there's no variance on the property lines. Right now, we have this at 70 feet from the property line, and all we were going to do is for a road, so we can get back over to here. Yeah.
I thought the original plan showed 2 lagoons. Are there 3 there now?
What's that?
I thought that the original plan showed 2 lagoons. Are there 3?
Yeah, there's a rule in South Dakota when we went to design the lagoons. If they're over 5 acres, you have to put riprap all the way around them. And so the lagoons haven't changed in amount of gallons. They're just add one to get them below the 5 acre limit.
How many front feet are along that road of those lagoons?
Well,
How wide are each of them? How much is between them?
So the total length of the 3 together is 1,171 feet.
With the
With the berms in the middle, yep.
1,171?
yeah, so that's roughly, well, it's a little less than half of the length of the quarter.
And so how many front feet along the east side are structures?
What's that?
How many feet along the east side that front the road, how wide, how long is that?
Those are about 1,700 feet, and then the feed pad's down in the corner here.
And that's how big,
Yeah, that's all feed, so that's just like bunkers.
how wide is that?
About 800 feet.
Okay, so like 2,400 feet along the east side against that road.
Right.
321st Avenue.
Yep. Then we have a little scale here. That'll be kind of an unmanned scale shack just to hold the computers and stuff. So this is a scale right here for the trucks to weigh.
And that's set back 300 feet?
Yeah, well, right now, I mean, without the variance, it would be back to 300 feet.
From the road on the east, right?
Right.
And the road on the east, right now, we have that feed pad closer because I guess we want to maintain that room in for potential phase 2.
Where's the 300-foot line on the east side? Do you have that drawing?
This is the line right here, the 300.
And that's been
300, 200, and 1.
up to your buildings too?
What's that?
The 300 feet line goes up to your building?
Well, the way this is drawn, here's the 100-foot line right here. This building here sticks out a little bit, so we have that right on the 100-foot line. So this actual drawing is on with a 100-foot setback. If you go 300 foot, you have to move everything back here, and then when you do that, if we ever want to expand, this waterway is in the way. There's no room for expansion, or very little. I mean, we can expand, but it'll be about half of what we were going to expand before. The main one we were concerned about more was the south road, because if we don't get the variance on the south road, we have to move this building across. That's our main concern. But on this quarter, everything slopes this way, and it slopes this side of the waterway obviously slopes toward the waterway, this side slopes that way. Right here and right here, that's pretty equal in level. So that's a pretty big flat area right down in that corner. So we won't be moving very much dirt there at all, we'll just be digging the hole. And then we'll probably put some of the dirt over here to level this out, to put the building on.
So if you tell the Corps of Engineers that you're not moving any dirt, my understanding is they have jurisdictional authority, and that includes any impact on that waterway.
Right.
So unless, is that only if you move dirt onto it, or do you know?
We can't do it, we can't touch the waterway. We can't put dirt on it, we can't dig it out.
Anything over 20, like anything over 20 cubic yards would require a Corps of Army Engineers permit.
To fill it in?
Yes, and there's no guarantee, you gotta go through a big permit process.
But driving across it or hauling across it is not a problem?
Yep, so right now, at this point, we'd have just one road that would go across, and we would be less than that 20 cubic yards of fill.
Yeah, just up here on the north end. We just put a culvert and a road.
Because the north, further north, that waterway is farmed through, correct? It's just not farmed through the southeast.
Yeah, Doug, you farm through the waterway, don't you?
Yep. It's got it not back up or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that waterway that you farming through part of the Corps' designation?
Well, it's the creek they're talking about, or the waterway that goes onto their property that they're talking about, yeah.
So I mean, there hasn't been like an official delineation from the Corps, right? And the new WOTUS rule, if you guys have heard of that,
Waters of the United States.
with navigable tributaries and stuff, it should take some of the power back away from the Corps, but until we kind of test it again, you don't know what potential that they'd say that they do have jurisdiction over everything here.
Some of that just changed, correct?
Right, the new WOTUS rule just came back out here just a month or two ago, I think.
guess that would be my question is, how can you farm part of the core stuff and you can't touch the other part of it?
Well, the Clean Water Act allows you to continually farming stuff through, including destroying wetlands essentially, as long as you're farming it for. There's a thing in the Clean Water Act of 1984 that allows you to do that, but not like construct over it.
Or even dig it out, correct?
Yeah, but in stock dams, I think essentially you can dig it out, but not fill in.
Yeah, right in this area here, there is a stock pond where they dug out the stock pond.
And that's probably why it's under the core, because there were, the way I understood it when I talked to them, there were some kind of federal funds probably involved in building that stock dam, which then gave them jurisdictional authority over that waterway because it affected the stock dam or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because for the life of me, I can't figure out why the Corps of
So,
Engineers
well,
even
if
has
they, like,
this little waterway.
If they went through ASC or SDS, or what it used to be, Farm Service, and got matching money or funds for
Equipment.
stock dam, then automatically, then under voters would give the Corps jurisdictional authority over that waterway. Because there were federal funds involved in the stock dam.
Is that true, Doug? I mean, you've owned that north quarter for a long time, right?
Quite a while.
I mean, has it always been under the Corps?
I don't know that. That's not my dad or whatever. I never dug anything on this.
Yeah.
I've never had to get a permit or anything.
Okay. Yeah, for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why that was even a Corps of Engineers. I was real surprised because it's just a waterway. Like there is 100 waterways out there that aren't under
Well,
the Corps.
just for your information, the person that I talked to at the Corps in here was Carl,
Okay.
if that helps.
We've been communicating with a lady, right?
Yeah, Dan's been doing all that, so I guess I'm not sure who he's been talking
I mean, that's what my emails seem to, there's some to the lady. Oh, we lost signal. Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes.
Hi, I'm Carla Glenn with Ken Gosh's law firm. I'm here on behalf of Perry and Robin Hoban and Hoban Ranch, Inc. I guess our notice we don't even know which township section or range this is being built on. Where is this project going? They got notice that they were an adjoining landowner, but we don't know which of their properties this is adjoining.
Well, this is on 138th Street and 321.
Highway 101, Section 10, 12274.
Southeast of 10.
Southeast.
There you go.
Well, then, nobody else has any questions. You want to just go back to, Doug, do you got anything else to say? Well, I'm just wondering, why don't you just introduce yourself? Doug Hughes. You guys have variances, and I guess I didn't know what do they cover or whatever. I mean, like he's saying, the guy right next to you on the property line has no say of whatever happens right beside his land or whatever. But then what's the variance for, or what do you, I guess as commissioners or whatever, what is the variance?
Well,
State, federal, and township rights of way.
Land in between does not have any variances in
Well,
between
there's
lines?
a section line around all of section 10. Right, there's a
Yeah.
section line around every mile.
Yeah.
There's actually a street on the south and a street on the east. But it's kind of like your fences, like if you own the southeast quarter of 10, you would fence right up to that property line on the north and the west. So the variances only apply to the state, federal, and township right of ways.
Oh, so the landowner has no rights between quarters?
Well, he can't build on your land.
No,
so
but
you got that right.
anybody can build right up to,
It's like
the-
you
the
farm
line.
right up to that quarter line.
yeah, that's what
Right.
I'm saying, or asking, or whatever, yeah. So, I guess, to be clear, anybody who wants to build anything they have to come to the county and say, I'm building right next to this guy's line or whatever, as long as he stays on his line.
Yeah, I think as long as we don't infringe or we don't change any water, you know, how it runs onto your ground
Another
or.
thing would be that creek by putting in, how close that road you're gonna put there.
Yeah, it won't be, I mean, there'll be a definite road ditch between you and us. I mean, between that road and.
Well, the creek runs this way, you're gonna go across like this, so.
Right. But I mean, we're gonna put a culvert across there.
Yeah, we'll make sure that, see, we're planning on draining all the clean water on our site to this stormwater pond, and it might look just a little different yet. But, so right now we're designed at a 5-inch runoff to be able to capture all that runoff and really slow it down coming out of here so that we're not going to create any gully problems or issues downstream of us.
Also, but when you're slowing it down, you're backing it up.
Well, we'll have make sure that we back everything up. See, my top of elevation is 1934 right now, and you want. The elevation back on your ground is lower, I guess, is what, than what our top of our dike would be here.
So if you're backing it up, it'll go, mine's lower?
So actually, we'll have to pay attention to that here. Here, right at the, right where it crosses the creek is 1931, so I guess we'll wanna, well, actually, where we're up higher, your ground on that side is at 1936, 1937 here, so. And we'll just back water up on this side of
Probably it won't cross back in.
yeah, it won't cross onto your property.
That's guaranteed.
Yeah, we'll make sure. That definitely as putting this together, that will make sure it works out.
Well, and that's, you're covered by law on that one because we can't back up water onto your ground. That's, otherwise you can take us, I mean, that's a no-brainer. We can't even fight that one.
Yeah, so. we want to be good neighbors, so we'll make sure that we put a design together that's going to work for you here.
Anything else, Doug? Mark? Steve's up there. Carly, you got any more to say?
We were of the understanding that this is being built on section 15, so now that it's not, I have to check into some people. We might not have any concerns anymore. So I will let you know in a second.
Where would the Holden Ranch be from this?
It would be across from the west border on the north there, across the road to the east.
This is where it is, and they had land here and then down here. But we were thinking it was like right here next to their land, so.
So this is the map in the big, zoomed out here. Here's 321st Street coming down.
So would you be in a 2-mile radius then?
I believe, well.
2-mile radius. Yeah, but there's
But
no.
not directly across the road, which is what we thought it was.
I mean, they're in the 2-mile radius, but they don't have any dwellings, so you don't have to get them to sign on.
Okay. That was my next question, is what dwellings are there to?
Yes, Doug.
I guess I would have a question on that. What constitutes, dwellings? Like my farm has a house that it's not living, or not living there, I haven't lived there for a while, but I have a Quonset, cattle barn, things like that.
I think it has to be a residence, correct?
Somebody has to be there.
Yeah. Somebody has to live there. Now, if you'd have had a mailbox there, that might have made a difference.
I just wonder what it constitutes.
Yeah. I think if you have a mailbox there, even if you don't live there, I think that's a residence, because that's a registered.
It's occupied dwelling.
I think it's not.
Is it an occupied dwelling? Okay. Yeah.
Just kind of for my information, your variance is for along the footprint of the development?
Yeah.
And so there's a separation line that's where it ends?
What's it?
Right. I mean, that
The
doesn't,
east and the south, right?
of just that quarter. Right.
The entire quarter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions for them? Everyone you got? Good, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So the volcano is one that we had an issue with. Weird. Just rezoned it.
It's just that they're changing it together. You've all got copies of it. And that's for your information. And then you also got the one from Mr. Josh.
So you don't really have any issues with it? Do we know which land this one is on the south side? What's the family trust on the south side of that road? That be changed to the family trust? On the south side of the road. Is that James Stewart? Yeah.
read this letter? Have you guys read the letter from Devin?
Yep, yep.
Job security. Gene, I guess I got a question for you. What would all constitute, what would have to be set back? Is it just buildings? If it's a cement bunker that's just gonna hold feed?
I think that all has to, applies to the 300-foot setback, doesn't it, Deb?
I believe so.
Does a tree have to be moved?
No.
What if they hang a net by the tree to stop the silage from blowing over to the,
And that may be an issue, because then you've got some
and you
man-made.
have to move the tree too?
Well, you still want to hang your net there, I suppose.
In our ordinance areas, we talk about trees and shelter belts and how far they have to be back from the road. I don't think trees that Mother Nature planted gets in that category, but we do talk about setbacks for
If
shelter
they
belts.
want to plant trees for settings,
It talks about there. We discussed these variances a lot, and we went through these, put these ordinances together, and our thought was that once we change that variance, it's that way for all of them, once we do.
The truth of each project is different from one to the other, I guess. I would think that each project should be looked at, and we probably might not agree on everything for each project being exactly the same. I guess I'm just looking at here, well, that they might build a home, you know. That's pretty broad, I guess. I mean, if there hasn't been nothing there for years except this old dilapidated stuff, I mean,
Under general requirements, under 5.0303, location and construction requirements, it says, notwithstanding other provisions of this ordinance, fences, walls, and hedges may be permitted in any required yard, except if they're more than 30% solid. It says, a fence, wall, or hedge shall not be constructed within 25 feet of a public right-of-way or edge of a private road.
so a wall that was used to hold silage or hay or something in, that could be within 25 feet of the road? Of the right of way?
I don't think so.
Here's my problem, is it's different for a CAFO. I'm just trying to look what our general requirements are, and that's what this says, it's like on page 47 of the ordinance.
But you're saying that a wall, read that again about a wall.
It says, notwithstanding other, except fences, walls, Fences, walls, and hedges may be permitted in any required yard, except fences, walls, and hedges which are more than 30% solid shall meet the requirements of chapter 5.02. Further, the aforementioned fence, wall, or hedge shall not be constructed within 25 feet of a public right-of-way or edge of a private road. Fences, walls, and hedges shall be set back a minimum of 20 feet from a high water mark or from a point as determined by the Board of Adjustment.
But that wall would be more than 30% solid to hold hay or silage or whatever anyway, so that would constitute that anyway. Because you're looking at putting up a solid cement wall the whole length, right? And how high is that wall?
Well, the one on the south edge is only 5 foot tall. The middle ones are gonna be 12. The one along that south edge are gonna be 5.
Will your walls on that feed pad be, they leave that corner unobstructed, that corner view unobstructed at that intersection?
Yeah, because they'll be back far enough. Because a lot of the scale there is, it'll be far enough back. There won't be any problem with the construction view.
I guess I read, if you take a look at our setback tables, 5.08, 0.03 D. It reads a concentrated animal feeding operation which existed prior to the creation of the residence. So if this gets built before they build that house, would this take precedence from the residence? If they're just thinking about building a house there. But on the other hand, there's also talk about trading quarters so we don't have to deal with it. Which is the same talk as building a house. Either one of them have done anything yet. But if you look at D, concentrated animal feeding operation which existed prior to the creation of a residence, educational institute, commercial enterprise, whatever. Jamie, I yield to you. What's your opinion on that?
What's your exact question now about,
Being there's no residence there yet.
correct?
If this feeding operation gets built before they build the house, would this take precedence over?
I don't think so. I think that, doesn't that address right in there?
Yes.
Pre-existing.
We discussed that a lot too. If the area is built first, the landowners can put their house where they want, adjacent ones, you know. They cannot come in and make the dairy move there.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it doesn't have where the residence is gonna be located. I'm saying if, whether it's 300 foot or 100 foot, would that make a difference there?
Right now, our ordinance states that it's gotta be a 300-foot setback. And that's why you have the variance request, but something in the future would not have any effect on. So you're saying, is your question, like, if we grant the variance and then somebody move it to 100 feet and then somebody wants to build a house across the road, that's their problem.
Okay.
We've already
In our
granted.
building permit process, we have if somebody applies to build a residence and it's in the middle of a farming community, there's a right to farm waiver that they have to sign that says they realize that they're building right in the middle of an agricultural community and that they will know. We have that in our ordinances, if they don't own that surrounding land, they have to sign that right to farm waiver that says they acknowledge that they are building in an agricultural community and people may farm and have cattle and stuff around them.
Does state law define a dwelling?
It depends upon what chapter you're looking at and things like that. And again, it's going to go to whatever, like our ordinances are going to rely on what our definition of a dwelling is, which is what I mean, some state statutes are going to have totally different definitions or possibly exactly the same. It's going to be what your definitions in your ordinance itself is going to be the recognized definition.
Dwelling, any building including seasonal housing structures or a portion thereof which contain one or more rooms with sleeping quarters and is further designed and used exclusively for residential purposes. This definition does not include a mobile home or manufactured home. Dwelling, farm. Any dwelling owned or occupied by the farm owners, operators, tenants, or seasonal or year-round hired workers. Dwelling, multiple family. A residential building designed for or occupied by 2 or more families with the number of families in residence not exceeding the number of dwelling units provided. Dwelling, non-farm. Any occupied dwelling which is not a farm dwelling. Dwelling, single family. A building occupied exclusively by one family. Dwelling unit. One room or rooms connected together constituting a separate independent housekeeping establishment for owner occupancy or rental or lease on a weekly, monthly, or longer basis and physically separated from any other rooms or dwelling units which may be in the same structure and containing independent cooking and sleeping facilities. On pages 11 and 12 of the ordinances.
So basically from all of those, a lot of your outbuildings that you're talking about and things like that do not meet the definition of dwelling. That's your understanding, right, Deb? It's got to be built with the intent to house human beings for a certain amount of time. Isn't that kind of how you read them all?
And that are separate for housing. They can maintain a house unit.
Yeah, so if you built a big building and used 95% of it for agricultural purposes, and you just put your little, like shops, you're right. I don't think that's going to be considered a dwelling, Deb, since your main intent is to whatever, like a shop or whatever, is to do repairs on your agricultural equipment or storage of agricultural equipment. As opposed to,
or a silo or a
right,
yeah.
Even though you may have an area to sleep in there, looks like most of those covers what the actual design is for. So you couldn't, so you built a humongous grain bin and put a little tiny house next to it, or dwelling next to it that someone's going to live in, you can't call that dwelling. It's attached. Isn't that kind of how you read it, Deb?
It doesn't, I just don't think it needs to be occupied, it needs to be able to be occupied.
And also in there was mobile homes and manufactured homes do not count either. Is that right?
Correct. Under dwelling, it says, this definition does not include a mobile home or manufactured home.
Okay, Jamie, on this letter from Davenport Evans, the 3 that they got listed here, literal interpretations of provisions of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district.
Okay, granted the variance. You're reading sub 3 from 6.05.02.
Yeah. Yes. So, if, like if the lagoons was on the north side and they butted right up to Doug's property, would that even apply?
Do we have setbacks for building on property lines in our county ordinances? I think we do.
We do, I think it's like 20 feet.
So any like that is gonna have to be off the,
I just looked that up. I believe
it's right off a property. I
20 or
mean,
25.
we're talking about fences and things like that. You can build them right on the line, but dwellings or structures, I'm sure there's setbacks even on the non-right-of-way properties because they don't want you building a
I think that's
house right up next to.
Right.
where I read about the fences, the walls, and whatever.
Right, so there's gonna be a,
Be set back.
So if they-
If we say 100 feet, and if they say back 100 feet, which is what they're asking for, would that be considered any different than any other landowner commonly enjoyed by any other properties in the same district?
I don't know for sure because
What are you reading?
number 3 on page 2 of the letter from Mr. Almond, where it says, Section 6.05.02 provides that variances shall not be granted unless the applicant can demonstrate, among other things, and then you go down to number 3, granting the variance request would not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied by the ordinance to other lands.
Which is about the same thing as number 1 up there too.
Little interpretation of the provision of the ordinance would deprive the applicant of rights commonly enjoyed by other properties in the same district under the terms of the ordinance. See, what we're doing is the request is to give them a variance, which would be giving them a privilege that is not generally enjoyed by all of the other property owners because they still have to comply with the setback rules under our ordinances. That's how you would read it, right, Deb?
Yes. We're not denying the applicant, we're not denying him anything, we're actually giving him a special privilege.
So what he's saying in here, and again, I did not ask him this, this is just kind of my interpretation of, is what he's saying is that you shouldn't approve it unless you're giving that right to everyone. Is kind of how I'm reading it.
Isn't that the definition of a variance though?
That's exactly right.
I mean, your definition of variance is basically giving them the approval to go ahead and do that based on the situations at hand. Looking through this here, and I was reading in the considerations and stuff in the setbacks and stuff, when you go back to exemptions, when you talk about in the item D, under that it talks about concentrated land and feeding operation which existed prior to the creation of a residence. And I think that's what their concern is here, is they might want to build a house at some point in time. Well, if this feedlot, if we give the variance on this thing, and the feeding operation is already there before the house is there, it's like the
That's the house
wasn't
builder's
there.
problem.
Yeah, the
We're not
house wasn't
going
there.
to- You're absolutely right, and that's kind of what you were asking, I think, Commissioner Schilling, is once something's built, there's not going to be any right by the adjacent landowners to come in 20 years from now and say, oh, this has got to go because we want to build a house.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
That's kind of what all 3 of you are getting at, is that there is no right to come in and say, oh, this needs to go, and that's kind of why they created the agricultural zone area, so people can't come in and say, oh, I want to build a development now of, say, 40 units, and I'm right next to a feedlot. I want the feedlot to go in order to build my thing. And maybe in more metropolitan areas, but out here, we're all agriculturally oriented, so that's why, and correct me if I'm wrong, Deb, that's why a lot of those things are put in there, so we maintain the agricultural community and protect the agricultural community from any type of attack for any other form of development that is not, well, particularly in your suggestion is housing. So
Now, if he builds it after the fact, that's on him. That doesn't affect the
also, do you think, number 2 in there, special conditions and circumstances do not result from actions of the applicant? The applicant's not really doing anything special other than trying to fit in, use the land to the best of their ability. They're not trying to change waterways, or that's part of the reason for this is because of that waterway.
Just 1 second here to see that. What Mr. Ullman is saying, if you read farther down in that paragraph, the second criterion is not met because the only reason the variance is being requested is because Hoffman desires to build a cable. In other words, his own actions are what led to his variance request, and then he talks about the third one. That's their position. I don't necessarily say that that is 100% correct, but that's what they're
Because he wants
stating.
to build a CAFO, doesn't,
It goes back to the whole terminology of variance, though.
The limiting factor on that could possibly be the discovery that the Corps of Engineers has jurisdictional authority over that waterway. That may have,
which technically,
that may have forced the change in the plans for the setbacks. Finding out that the Corps of Engineers had that jurisdictional authority.
which if they make the application and it comes back where the court doesn't have any of that jurisdiction over that, or you could move that, some buildings back farther to it, then it would be a moot issue anyway.
We would.
The Corps does have jurisdictional authority, that's for sure.
And they don't relinquish any authority.
Not very easily. That could be that factor that says it's not because of their direct actions. They've had to change their actions due to the Corps.
Something beyond
The Corps having
planning, as far as like with the
jurisdiction.
United States government having jurisdiction, which originally when you started, you had no idea that this was a potential issue. So it's not, I think how you're kind of reading it is correct, that when you read number 2, it has to be something that they have created.
Right.
Whereas actually in this particular situation with number 2, it has been uncovered because of further investigation that the United States may have a say in waterway management, which would then cause them to move their lagoons closer to the roadway because they can't impact the waterway. Is that kind of how you also have it, Deb?
The Corps definitely has jurisdictional authority over that, and when I talked to this Carl, after we talked, in between times that him and I talked, he then contacted this Patrick at DENR and alerted them to that also. So they definitely have jurisdictional authority, and he has already been in contact with DENR concerning that. So this probably does affect their original plan.
Clear as mud, right?
I gotta ask a question to Steve and Kerwin. I mean, if you would have known this probably right away, would have you probably been trying to get the variance rates from the get-go?
We would have, working with DeHaan's. I know Nate did check with them, and we did get a preliminary ruling on it.
You're saying on the what, or I think he's asking on the variance.
Yes.
Yeah, if we
But we certainly would have
ask for it right away.
asked for it right away had we been able to discover the fact that they don't change real easy. And of course, working with the Federal Corps of Engineers is a real popular topic in the Midwest anyway. So making a request, we can do that. Having it granted is probably pretty small.
Carla, did you have anything else? You were gonna make a phone call?
Yeah, I can't verify with you, but I have this right. This is engineering, and this is the road that you're talking about. So like somewhere around here would be the.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I talked to Perry and Robin, and with this better understanding of what they were talking about, they do support the project and they want to withdraw their objection.
All right, thank you. Any commissioners have any more on this?
If we grant this on the east side, and there has been talk about redoing that road coming down from Highway 12, and LTAP people said it'd have to be at least 6 feet wider on the top on each side, and our highway superintendent has stated the ditch slopes don't meet specs anymore. If we do that, we could have those buildings within 50 or 75 feet from our right of way.
What would the right of way change to? What is the number?
Well, we have to go 6 feet on top of the road each side. And I'm just going by the numbers they threw out. If we redo that road and pave it, you have to have a 4-foot apron and a 2-foot gravel apron, and then redo
6
the
feet on
slope.
each side of the center line that it would have to expand up, Gary?
Anytime you go vertically up, Kevin, you have to go wider.
But is it 6 feet
The center of
on each side of the center line?
I
So
can't
you
remember what the numbers were, but,
I would be 3 and 3.
yeah.
It'd be 3 and 3, wouldn't it?
3 and 3.
No, it's 6 on each side.
I thought each,
6 on each side?
I understood him to say 3 foot of paved apron outside the outside line, and then 2 feet of gravel apron to meet the state specs. So you could have to put that 6 feet on top of
So
that
that
road,
would
and then
make it
redo the ditch slopes.
33 to 40.
So that increases your right of way from 66 to whatever.
We
You would have to go and take through eminent domain or get
easements.
an easement to expand our,
Can it be, can that particular half mile be expanded to the east?
as far
That
as,
half mile, like if you, so we don't. and so the
we would
road-
only try and take or use what would be necessary. It wouldn't extend for, it would only be for, if we're gonna pave, say, the whole thing, then yeah, we would probably want to expand our right-of-way to
But if the
beyond that amount, but if it's only gonna be for a mile or something, that's all you're going to want to expand it.
But if the buildings are already there, then as long as
Then
you're
we would
not,
probably try and get an easement.
right, just,
Yeah, we couldn't take it and say you need to move your buildings, that's, that.
Well, we're not that close right now
Yeah.
anyhow.
You would still be, if you went from 100, because right now the variance application is to move within 100 feet of the right-of-way, right? So you're 100 feet off that 33 feet from center line. So actually, from the center line of the road,
We're actually more than that right now.
Right now,
But
your buildings are, right now, are about 150 feet, right?
That's right.
from the right of way.
From the right of way.
the closest you could go, if you grant this request, would be 133 feet from the center line,
Right.
if we don't expand our right-of-way. That's how you also see it, right, Gary? You're at 33 feet from the center line on each side of the road, and then there would be another 100 feet by the variance.
And that, on that east road, we do not want to build close to the road. We want it as far away, because we have other, you know, we want to drive, we've got trucks going, parking, all that on that east side, so we don't want to.
And so if the variance was granted, and the engineer comes in and says you need to put X amount on, and you need to expand your shoulders or whatever, we're still gonna be within our right-of-way, it's just that we're gonna have really tiny ditches. So what we would probably do is go to the landowner and say, can we have an easement to maintain a lower ditch slope? So can we extend 22 feet or whatever onto your property to maintain our ditch? And that would be the only thing that, or the grade, or whatever you want to call it. So our 33 foot from center line would still be there, but we would hope that the landowner would give us an easement, so if we need to do work on that property and extend into the landowners to make the slope so it's less dangerous, that's what we would be asking for the easement for, is to come in and do maintenance, not to own or anything like that. It would be, and to change the slope, whatever the agreement would be.
So technically, you guys were talking about having that as a parking lot anyway in there for tour buses and whatever. If you just slope that down to the ditch, you wouldn't have a problem with giving an easement in there anyway, would you?
No, because that's going to be sloped into the ditch anyway.
And they would want it, because then it's a safety issue, because you don't want to have your ditches so steep that as soon as somebody gets a foot off the road, they tip over. So as the property owner and the people who use the road, I would assume they're going to be more than willing to give us an easement to maintain a much lower slope.
Why would we want to
Have employees fall
jeopardize,
into
if
the,
you're going to make the road better, why do we want to
Exactly.
jeopardize that?
I mean, some people would be like, no, you're not taking the road.
All right, I got a suggestion. What if we set it at a 150-foot setback on the east side? Would that jeopardize anything that you guys, as far as your buildings part?
Only on the scale.
On the scale of the scale house, it's gonna be a little bit closer.
Now, it's not going to be an occupied, I don't know
But
what
would that scale
but it's a
house
structure.
be considered a dwelling?
No, not a dwelling, it
It's
would
a
be a structure.
That would be the only case.
Yeah, no one's
All the
living
other
in it.
buildings, yes.
And it
all the
doesn't
other
have a
buildings.
bedroom or, so yeah, it would not be considered a dwelling. Correct, Deb?
But it
Or,
would be a wall. But are
No,
you
the scale
talking-
wouldn't be a wall.
no, scale
Well,
would be
actually,
a
there would be
structure.
a little room there
Yes.
where the,
Are you talking 150 foot from the right of way or 150 foot
From the
from the
right of way.
center of the road?
From the right of way?
So you're talking 183 feet from the center of the road.
Right.
But he was just talking about the east side.
That's just the east side.
Right. Instead of lowering it to 100 on the east side, you're saying lower it to 150 and 100 feet on the south side.
Right. As a compromise to fit would you still be able to fit everything in at that point?
Well, it'd be tighter, I mean, we'd like to have that scale 100 foot, but everything else already is designed to be 150 foot.
so the scale part where they drive, is that count, or where does that need to be in this?
What's your definition, say, Deb?
The scale itself wouldn't be, would it?
Because you went
I
through your
don't
dwellings
think
at
so, 'cause
different,
it's not a wall, a fence, or, you know what I mean?
It's just a drive-over scale, right?
Yeah.
because basically it's gonna be a scale with like
If you
a
put-
small building like they do at the towers.
It's
You know,
a 10
little,
by 10 building.
yep, little 10 by,
If you put
with
the scale-
electrical equipment and a
Yeah.
heater, and that's about it.
Computer,
Yep.
If
Can
you
you
put
move
the
that-
scale house on the west
Does
side
does
of
that
the
building have to
scale.
be right up next to the
That's how I was
scale?
trying
Can
to
you move
remember.
that back a little bit, or?
Well, it'll be on the west side of the west side of the scale anyway, but I don't think we can move it. Because I think they have to scan stuff. The truck,
Yeah,
I understand the drivers have to, there has to be a scanner there. of some sort.
If they're talking about changing it to 150, wouldn't this whole thing have to start over?
Yes. What I was just gonna, she was reading my mind, is that the request here today is whether to grant a variance reducing the setback from 300 feet to 100 feet. That's what it is, right, Greg?
Yep.
So you would have to vote no on this, and then probably suggest to the builders, we would be more than probably willing, if that's what the group's consensus is, to reduce it to 150 feet, but we already voted no on the 100. And we would have to start the application over. Isn't that kind of how you would read it, Greg?
yes, I believe so.
Could you grant the application on the south side?
With regard to the setbacks?
If they still want the south side to be 100 feet, could you grant the variance to the
I
south?
think you have the variance as a whole, not as a part. That's that's the problem, is I don't think you can do narrow the application Go ahead, Becky.
Wasn't it published exactly?
Yeah, I think we would,
It
if
have
it,
to be
in order to keep the public properly informed, if there's going to be a modification, or if you vote it yes today, then there is no issue. If you vote it no and basically suggest to the property owner that you don't really want to reduce it down to 100 feet, but we may be willing to do 150 feet, then the recommendation would be to have them resubmit at the 150 feet. And if they want to get the one on the opposite side, I would do 2 variance applications, because they're asking 2 different questions for 2 different setbacks. Is that how you look at it, Greg?
Yeah. Yeah, we'd have to start.
That way
over.
we could grant one, or none, or all. But you would give you that option like you were talking, Kevin, about the other side, which really no one is discussing here today. It's more of along the main roadway.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a question for Gary. With the 100-foot setback on there, do you feel that would be a problem, trying to get a road built in there?
No, the conversation's already been held that after the fact, if the governing board determines that we're going to do improvements to the 4-mile section, I wanted to kind of clarify with Jamie, in my opinion, it wouldn't be a 1-mile section, it would be the entire project. And by virtue of that, the plans would be initialized that if we needed additional right-of-way, this is what we need for right-of-way. And I wouldn't see where there's a problem where post-construction and at a convenient time for the county to do the road construction, that we go to them and say we need an additional 20-foot right-of-way to accommodate the construction. I would hope that there wouldn't be a problem after that.
Well, yeah, just like they said, I mean, why would they turn that down if they're getting a new road in there? But I wanted to make sure you felt there was enough room there, if you thought there was enough room there to do that.
Yes, Kevin.
Okay, if we left it at 100 feet, that rotary part sticks out a little bit farther anyway.
Right.
That would still fit into that 100-foot, wouldn't it?
Right, I mean, we have.
And then the buildings are gonna sit back from there.
Right, about 50 foot.
50 foot?
Yeah.
So everything would be about 150 feet back
Exactly.
anyway, if we left it at 100 foot,
Yeah.
except for that rotary part.
That little part where it's the entrance, we'll call it the grand entrance.
I don't know if everybody's aware of it. On the drawing, the rotary is where the actual milking part is, the turntable. That's gonna stick out just a little bit farther.
Yeah, we just did that for more of a design, eye-popping deal, so people can see it. That's all gonna be windows on that east side. So it's
For
just
people to watch.
Yeah, so they can go in, they walk in the front door and watch the milk cows on the rotary. And so that sticks out 50 foot. Right now, we have that designed at 150 foot as a right away. That edge of that rotary, or that portion that sticks out there is 150 foot. The only
From
thing
the right of way.
Yeah, the only thing that's 100 foot from the right of way is the scale house on that east side. But the main buildings will actually be 200 feet from the right of way. All the rest of the buildings, except that little spot that sticks
So
out.
everything else would be set back anyway.
Yeah,
So the only thing that would be sticking out is 40 foot
yeah, it's about 40 to 50 foot wide.
wide.
Yeah, north and south.
And then you got a 10-foot building on the south end. Everything else is gonna be back 150 feet anyway. So I guess there wouldn't be any need to change this.
You guys might want to look at page 92, 6.0404. I don't know. Jamie, do you have?
What was that?
92.
Page 92. I don't know if that applies or not.
That has to do with appeals. I don't think that applies. 6.0404 is Board of Adjustment has powers of administrative officer on appeals, reversing decision of zoning officer. So that would not apply here. There is no appeal. This is an original application for a variance.
So Jim, do you see any problem with that? If we just kept it at 100 feet? And that whole east side is gonna, other than 40 foot on the parlor and then 10 foot on the scale.
I'm still gonna stand by 300 foot, because that's what we discussed in our zoning committee. We discussed it a lot.
So you wouldn't even go for the 150 foot?
No. We spent days on that, discussing that, and the reasons why we come up with that, so.
Davis, what's your feeling on this?
I don't know.
Yes.
I guess my thought or my question to the rest of the commission is if, and I understand the 300-foot setback, I understand having the ordinances and everything else, but to me it goes back to the whole variance concept. If you're going to have the ability to do a variance, then you have to look at it that this is a variance. This is not an ordinance. It's a change for this particular project. And if this is something that, because of the waterways and everything else that's coming into play, I guess I feel that this variance is definitely a legitimate concern, and not every project is going to be the same. There definitely are reasons and things that step into play here. So I guess I would definitely favor the thing and look at the setback.
Yeah, I guess that's what I said that earlier, not every project is the same, so I guess that is truthfully how I look at it. I think what we're gonna do is, I would like to take a 10-minute break and you can all sit and just think about it just a little bit and we'll come back.
Pardon?
Can't really do it.
They could appeal it to the circuit court.
I guess I'm just gonna talk a little bit about this, that variance. I guess, like I said earlier, every project is different. Not everyone's gonna have a variance, but I guess, to me, I don't understand quite, if I don't even consider the variance, I don't even know why it's even in the ordinance then, because it shouldn't even have been put in there, it should just been taken out, I guess. That's kind of how I look at that part of it. Kevin, you got anything to say?
Well, I'm taking a look at it from what would be best for the county. I understand there's concerns for, that's why we have ordinances to protect property owners adjacent to it. But right now, there's no property owners that are living there, and there wouldn't be any difference between the south side and the north side other than there's a road going to an abandoned place down there. Nobody lives there. So I believe there shouldn't be any difference between it. If there was somebody living down there, then it would make a difference. But there's not, and I wouldn't want to hold up the potential income for the county just because somebody might build a house there sometime. So that's why there are variances, so you can take a look at different things on an individual basis instead of a blanket thing. We could have a blanket thing for every county in South Dakota, but they don't. So I'm all for the variance.
Marion?
Well, I pretty much said before that we're dealing with a variance, not with an ordinance. And, I mean, the variance is to change that ordinance, I understand that, and I think that as a whole, they've met all the criteria. We've got one concern, and to me it's not a real legitimate concern because there's no house down there right now. They may build a house out there like Kevin was saying. So I guess I don't have a problem with the variance myself. If, like you said, if we're going to stick to the 300-foot ordinance, and that's the only option we have, then they shouldn't even have an option to apply for a variance, if that's what the rules are. But that's not what the rules are. We have the ability to do a variance, so I guess I feel that we should do it.
Davis?
When I came here this morning, I sort of had my mind made up. But I know, I guess, a lot of the questions I had were answered. So I'm just going to surprise you when I vote.
Jim?
Like I said, we discussed this a lot when we come up with these ordinances. I'm going to stand by the ordinances and the phone calls I've got from the people in my district.
All right.
I guess it's time to vote on it.
I'll call for a roll call vote.
Don't we need a motion first?
Motion to approve the variance as applied for.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as applied for.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
A second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Roll call.
No, roll call.
Kevin?
For the betterment of Walworth County, I vote yes.
Marion?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Jim?
No.
And I'll vote yes. Motion passed. Okay, next discussion regarding road haul agreement.
That's going to be a problem.
I guess if all the commissioners had a chance to go back over those, the changes that were made, I guess.
I never got the hard copy changes, so I just got a whole bunch of different ones to say, admit this one and you got the final. All I got was a bunch of ones to say, delete this word and
Did you get one of these? Yeah.
That's the new one.
This is the final one.
Read on everything except.
And the only changes were on Appendix B, and it was in D where they wanted to remove the word existing, and then Gary came back and said that he would have no problem if we removed all of section, item D.
And that's what's highlighted in green, right?
Yellow.
Or yellow.
The word existing was the request from Kerwin and Steve, I believe, and then Gary came back and, I told Gary about it, and then he came back and said, in Appendix B, Section D, as far as he's concerned, we could remove all of Section D.
I've just got a question for Gary on that. When you sent that out, I was going to call you and never get a hold of you, but your reason for removing that section out of there because I don't disagree with the whole wording that the existing part they shouldn't be responsible for, but aren't they responsible for water ponding issues once the road haul agreement is in place and during that construction phase?
Technically, as reported, that was a sample draft from an existing document that was targeted toward wind turbines. On wind turbines, they do a lot of private roadway construction to the towers, and if there was any ponding that they had dammed up by the private road to the towers, that article was directed at that. So in this case, there wouldn't be any, in my opinion, wouldn't be any water ponding issues.
So this ponding is strictly from creating a road, not like water ponding or puddling on the top of the road surface?
Yes.
Okay, that was what I thought it was.
Believe me, if it would have addressed any ponding next to public right of way, then you're dealing with the same federal authorities, and so that's why I indicated that I think it could be extracted.
Okay.
And just for clarification, Gary, you're good with everything as it is now, is that right? Once they remove B, you're good with everything?
I think there was one item that from the original document, there's a value for a surety bond that wasn't addressed. I think it's the county commissioner's prerogative to, if you want to stay with that value, I can't remember what it was, 25,000.
It's on one of the,
But it should be opened up for discussion.
Appendix H, page 35.
So other than those two issues, you're good with everything, right?
Yes. One thing we kind of talked in recess that I don't know what article it is where it notes, that by virtue of the haul road agreement, the developer is to provide plans that are 50% complete, and final plans 100% complete. We had a discussion here that does that relate to the project plan? And nothing to do with road plan. So whether it's worthy of discussion, it's entirely up to you. But
On the request,
Have to all be.
the road agreement, the conditional use permit,
Yep.
all of that has to be disclosed with the new one.
Correct. I mean, I hate to shoot you in the foot, Deb, but I honestly don't know the answer to that. That's required.
I think you're wrong.
Okay.
I don't mind shooting that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm sure we'll discuss it after the meeting.
I'm sure.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Here, I'm gonna move for adjournment.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
That's like,
Get a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
right?
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. I want to convene as a board of county commissioners. Need a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
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 Did you want to add a couple of claims on that?
I don't know where it went.
Approval of claim.
Claims got deleted. Yeah, we're gonna need to.
Good job, Nyla.
I don't know if we rescind that motion.
Or rescind my motion to approve that. Well, let's just vote on it.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, got a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.
Aye.
You want to have it?
I don't want to have to fail.
Hold it down.
Yes, okay, good. Just want to make sure.
Did everybody vote it down?
That's three over here voted. They just didn't understand.
Just go 3-2, fail?
I'll make a motion to add the claims on it.
Okay, you got a motion to add the claims to the agenda? Got a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passes.
Now I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the claims added.
You guys have been just making a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the claims as one motion.
Okay.
You want to just leave it that way?
Public forum. I need a motion. Let's have a motion to approve county commission minutes for January 23rd. Did they have a chance to go over them? So I take a motion. I so move. Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second. A second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Everybody had a chance to do the claims, Adam? Can we take a motion?
I so move.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
That's okay.
A second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Deb,
Can I do it from here?
pardon?
Can I do it from here? The first one, record number 7112, is an exemption that they qualified for. They did not receive. The amount is $3,343.76.
Okay, I need a motion for that. Okay, you got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that?
What was the exemption for?
I don't think I can tell you that, Kevin, I'm sorry. It was an exemption that we qualified for.
Okay, that they qualified for, but then is that, what I'm getting at is that something that got missed or
Yes,
have your office missed?
I missed it, yeah.
Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
The next two record numbers, 4258 and 6316, I have on the same voucher. They are properties that the county had taken, but we can't take them, their value away until we get the next tax bill. So record number 4258 is in the amount of $1, and record number 6316 is in the amount of $193.82. And those are to, like, forgiving taxes that were due against a county-owned property.
Okay, I'll take a motion for 4258.
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second. Got a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Now I'll need a motion for 6316. Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
No second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
The next one, record number 7475, is for a mobile home that was sold and they were going to transfer the title in the middle of the year, which means that we have to collect from them taxes in advance. Those taxes were collected by the selling party, paid those taxes, and I'm not sure where it happened, it just happened. And Becky caught it that the mobile home value then was never taken away. And so he also paid taxes on the mobile home, or would have paid them for the same year. So it would have been the same property assessed twice to two different people in 1 year. And that amount was $1,995.56. That had been paid.
Yep, this is considered a refund, not an abatement.
Right.
I'll take a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that?
We need to make that record that it's not an abatement, it is a refund.
Motion would be is to refund the amount that is requested. That would be your motion.
Okay.
Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Number 18, consider motion to process the 2019 year-end budget supplements.
This was to cover the landfill fund and the general fund regarding court-appointed attorney expenses. It ended up being $11,565.90 that is needed to cover court-appointed attorney. And the landfill is $55,367.01. $55,367.01. And they were both due to expenditures not anticipated.
Okay, I'll need a motion for,
I'll make a motion to approve supplements.
you gotta do separate, one at a time, all together.
I have it all as one notice, Jamie, so is that sufficient?
Basically, you're taking the whole amount, requesting the whole amount, so I think you do it as one. And it's on there as one budget supplement from two funds, or two funds.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
Seconded.
Second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed. Gary.
Sir?
In your packet is notice to bidders accepting sealed bids on that snow blower truck unit that's got a blown engine. You need to authorize advertising for bid.
Okay, I'll need a motion for that.
I so moved.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second that.
Got a second. Any more discussion?
We'll use the appraised value of you guys provided in the past. I think it was 2,500 or something like that, so.
Are we gonna include any other vehicles in on this, or just?
This is the only one that's, we're doing the snow blower because it's still winter conditions. We're gonna get into discussion on all the other stuff here in a little bit, so.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed. Yes, Beth.
This has been put over at the public book. Anything that's handed out has to be.
Individually?
No, I mean like the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
Second item is authorize advertising for contract for services of road machinery. It's a 2-page deal in your packet. A lot of the other counties do this. This notice to bids will go to a host of different contractors. If the contractors are interested in providing services, for instance, an excavator, they provide us a bid on the attached form, and let's just assume 15 contractors have equipment and they want to provide to Walworth County. If we determine the need that we need an excavator for 3 hours of work to dig a culvert out, then I formally bid for it, and I can page through the sheets and find the one that's the most reasonable and take that bid. It seems like seems like it provides the county's number one. It provides for the bidding type application, and number two, there's a likelihood that we might not use any of the bids. But in the event we need an excavator or there's a milling machine with a reclaimer on it, as what happened in Mobridge there, we're probably going to be looking for a milling machine to fix the east end of the Cahill Road. Great, here's a bid for it. If they come through, drop it off in Mobridge and mill this 5/8 of a mile, and it's all formally bid. So
It takes time with regard to having, you see we have to get a mill, so now we have to go out and bid it, and we already know what it's gonna cost, so it helps Gary also with estimating the cost of projects if he needs equipment that we do not have. So he says, the bid comes here stating that it's $175 an hour, and we're gonna need it for 200 hours. That gives him an estimate as far as what the cost is gonna be. And it speeds up the process for the highway department. Right
the likelihood too is that, say for instance, an excavator of X amount of horsepower, the low bidder can't get there. It gives me the luxury on the list to go to the next bidder and say, can you get here?
I'll make a motion to authorize the advertising for bids for contract for services.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
One second, huh?
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
Next item, I'd like to request for the commissioners to hire KLJ Engineering in-house to provide preliminary haul road inspection for the KFO and post-construction inspection, and likelihood of if there's any engineering services needed during, they'd be on staff to do it. I was hoping to give you a cost estimate, but it appears that it's going to be a per hour cost for the inspection facets, pre and post, and a per hour cost for engineering services if needed. So,
Do we know what the cost per hour is gonna be?
no. That will be, I'm looking for a motion to enter into an agreement per hour cost agreement, yet to be determined, the cost, if that's even feasible. But get them on staff as the engineering firm of selection. I did question or comment to the developer on the KFO that I was intending on bringing KLJ in as consulting services for the pre and post construction. He was good with it, so.
I would so move.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second it.
A second, any more discussion on that?
And we won't be paying for it, the developer.
The developer.
Anything else? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
And I'm starting to put together a list of surplus equipment. As it is, maybe we want to move down to approve purchase of detached lowboy trailer with Campbell County for joint ownership before we get to the surplus stuff. If that's okay with you.
Okay, I'll need a motion for that.
I so move.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second it.
A second, any more discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion passed.
I think in your packet you have a joint purchase and use agreement. It was brought to my attention that we gotta be a little careful. Campbell County is interested in joining Walworth County. They don't have a lowboy trailer. And our lowboy trailer is small for what we use. And to satisfy both counties, Terry and I discussed the fact that maybe we could joint own a lowboy trailer. It would be an update to us, and it would provide them a trailer. The purchase price is $41,500. It would be a definite update to ours. $41,500 is determined that it could be delivered to Selby or Campbell County or whatever. Under that price, there would be no delivery cost for it. When considering this, it brought up some comments. How would it be recognized as ownership? It kind of determined that the title would say Campbell or Walworth and Campbell, but the and in between would have to be on the title. Feel free to comment if...
We can do it either way, but I guess I would suggest you put an end on there. In case you have
And
an insurance claim or something.
then the concerns about insurance. When Terry and I discussed this, I initially told them that both counties should request of their insurance carrier a premium rate for that machine or that unit. And options of Walworth County, if our insurance premium is cheaper than Campbell's, Walworth County has insurance coverage on it. Campbell County reimburses annually half the cost of the premium. A lot of discussions, and please feel free to weigh in on this, but and options too, like can our insurance company cover a value of $20,700 and Campbell County covers a value of $20,750. But that's kind of late to get that hammered out, so. Campbell will be, they'll be working on this agreement along with what we're doing today, so we'll know at the end of the day if it's a joint ownership thing, so.
My only thing is, we need to make sure that if we got the insurance, that our insurance is gonna cover another county's. If they're using it and they screw it up, how do we recognize employees from another county on our insurance?
Yes.
Yes, Becky?
I believe we have the same property and liability insurance. I'm sure if we contacted them, they could figure it out where they cover both entities and bills separately. And I'm sure it's not, we wouldn't be the only situation like that.
I think that's where they indicated that there would, whoever, if one county is providing the insurance, there would be an affidavit of understanding that there is another owner. So.
I think they could figure out a way to split the premium and cover everyone.
So if you authorize it, we put together that maintenance agreement, you can read it on your own. If you do decide to vote on purchase of this, I would ask that Scott would be authorized as the chair to sign it and make it a formal document.
We did approve to purchase it.
We need approval of the joint use agreement.
And this is all subject to what action Campbell County takes today, but I'm pretty confident that they're in agreement with joint ownership, so. If they vote it down, this gets thrown out the window.
Okay, then I'll need a motion for that, to sign that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor, I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second, any more discussion on that?
Didn't we already have a motion on
I
the
thought
floor
we did already.
that we haven't voted on yet? Then we went
We
into
had a motion
discussion.
to,
How moved and
To
Martin
approve the joint
seconded.
use agreement, because
To-
really, we don't need an agreement or a motion to authorize you to sign, since once we agree it, you're the chairman anyhow, so you have the authority to sign, so.
That's what I asked that. I thought that's what we
Approve
voted.
purchase of
We voted on it.
bench lowboy trailer with Campbell County for joint ownership. That's just joint ownership, that's the purchase, that's not the actual
And then,
agreement.
yeah, so we agreed to purchase half, so then we would need a motion to approve the
But I don't think.
joint. Is that on the calendar?
It is not, and I don't think the purchase motion was voted on yet.
Okay.
That was what Jim and Davis made the motion.
They made it, but was it voted on?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
We probably should have had the, and realistically, it doesn't matter because we're waiting on what Campbell County is going to do anyhow, so even if we vote on this next meeting, it's not going to be an issue. Because that was your issue, right, Becky? That the joint use agreement wasn't on the agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
Yes, Marion.
well, I would think that'd be kind of understood if we're gonna buy it together, isn't it?
Well, I thought so. That's what it pretty much says in black and
It's
white.
hard to say, we'll buy it together, not let them use it.
Be a pretty good deal.
I guess my question goes back then, being it isn't on the agenda, if we just have to wait till next meeting, but maybe a question for Gary is, if Campbell County does not go ahead with this and doesn't want to do that, being we voted to purchase this thing, do we end up buying this on our own then?
No.
He said no.
This is, it's joint ownership. The previous meeting, I wasn't sure if you made a motion, I thought it was just discussion of the possibility. And this was to kind of hammer on.
We have an agreement to purchase 50/50 with Campbell County. If Campbell County does not approve the joint use agreement, we're done anyhow. because they're not in agreement. And if Campbell County makes any changes to this, then we have to come back and make an agreement to approve it, subject to their change. So really, we're not slowing anything down, because unless Campbell County approves it right now without any changes.
Yes, Becky.
Motion made was Hauk moved and Martin seconded to support the joint ownership of a Locally trailer with Campbell County. That's supporting the joint ownership. This motion, the way I look at it, is approve the purchase
That was voted on.
of the trailer.
This next one was.
The next one is the purchase and use agreement, which the chair has to sign along with myself, and that would need its own motion,
That's the one we just had.
which we do not have on the calendar. Therefore, it will have to, the agreement has to be on the next meeting.
Correct. And it really doesn't slow us down, because we need to see what Campbell County's going to do anyhow.
Then we just have to rescind that motion. That was.
No, we needed this motion to approve purchasing.
That one was done already. I'm talking about for this, right here, the agreement.
Nobody made a motion for that.
Yes, they did.
But
Yes, it was.
So let's do this then, just for clarification. Let's go through, we can go back and look at the video, but let's go through on the vote and then vote it as a no, so it goes down, because we technically can't approve it anyhow.
On the agreement.
Nothing.
Correct.
seconded it?
Anything else?
We've already, the last one was to approve the, last meeting was to support the agreement. That we're gonna go in. The, today was to purchase with Campbell County. And then now we also have the agreement, the joint use agreement, so.
Can you restate your motion?
I don't remember it.
You did. That's why I questioned it. I said.
That's our motion, they take it away from you.
So what I would do is, to wipe everything out, is
Remake your motion.
vote and it's a no vote. That way it all goes down.
And then we'll just bring it to the next meeting.
Correct.
So we need a motion to approve.
Because if the chair thinks that we already have a motion and a second, and discussion is, and then I would take the vote requesting a no vote. And that way it'll go down in flames, and if we look at the video and it was there and we did it right, if we looked at the video and did it wrong, it doesn't matter because we voted no anyhow.
But I don't have anything to put in the minutes what the motion actually was,
That
because
is-
I missed it.
Yeah. We'll have to look at the video and see. But that's okay, you can correct it. It's-
Okay,
The motion was to approve the
joint agreement.
joint.
Okay,
And then based upon the state's attorney saying that it's not on the calendar, and the auditor saying it's not on the calendar, we were both suggesting that it's a no.
All in favor, say aye.
It's a trick question.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion failed.
Are we confused now?
Just a bit.
Yes, Gary.
Surplus equipment list. So I don't really know what happened just now.
Do we want to surplus that trailer before we know
19.
Campbell County's going to do?
Yes, that's a very good question, Gary.
I guess we can always turn down any
Bids.
Here's just a
Yes.
suggestion.
Or
Gary.
come back and,
Why don't you just table it till next meeting?
We'll try a more unique approach.
Okay.
I have begun to put together a surplus equipment list, as indicated on the agenda. Right now, I'm looking at the possibility of updating one of the mower tractors. A couple items that will probably increase: an 88 International truck with oil distributor, the possibility of a Trail King drop deck lowboy trailer in the event that follows through, scrap iron used culverts, any other Walworth County departments. Back up. I think it's important the commission establish how we're gonna get rid of this. Is it gonna be individual Walworth County auction, sealed bids individual, or consolidated public auction with other branches of government? Campbell County has indicated that they've got a lot of stuff. I kind of like the fact that the regional type auction sales brings more people. So if you guys would support that, you'd be setting a date sometime in March, I would say, or early April. By that time, all the departments and all the possible consigners would be on board with a regional government surplus auction held at a location yet to be determined. So
I would suggest a regional one set for the first week sometime in the first 2 weeks of April.
okay.
My suggestion.
It just looks nice out, I mean, you don't wanna have to, move that date.
That's why I second.
Because we can do it in June, you'd be safe. That's what I'm saying. There's gonna be a lot of equipment sitting around wherever it's at, so.
That will give me a target time frame to communicate with the other government entities.
Second
Like your
Wednesday.
sheriff's car, the weed and board pickup, all that stuff will start going to a focal point. And you'll have to do get approval of the list of surplus property and all that kind of stuff. And so if I don't talk about this, does it need to be provided? Can I?
No. If this is a non-issue item and you're not discussing it, that's your personal notes.
So I can discuss this without making it a public document?
If you're going to give a copy to the commission, then it's a public document.
They have a copy.
That's a public document.
We provided everything over there that you wanted.
So here goes. This is informational for the county commission. Relative to, and I hope the public doesn't perceive this as being any kind of deception. This is, it's got an estimate of full and true value of the CAPO complex. And I wish Deb was in here, she could bail me out a little bit, but and that the value, the estimated full true value is speculated. That's the number on top. The actual taxes paid to Walworth County in lieu of property taxes in 2021 is the assessed value and the actual taxes that the county government gets. Follow me? And since a majority of the personal property taxes go primarily to the school districts, are you willing to step in and comment?
Yeah, property taxes, roughly about between 62 and about 65% of all property tax dollars go to the school districts. The remainder goes to, of course, the county, and then if there's a school district, or not a school district, another municipality that's involved. So, but yeah, roughly on that 60 to 65 cents goes to the school district and your property tax. Not much comes to us.
You look down the left
That's
side.
not right, Becky.
I I actually just figured that exact information the other day, but I don't have it on my phone, I have it on.
That sound about right, though?
Yeah.
On that 60-some%.
I can go get the exact if you guys would like.
That tax value in 21, that goes for county government operations, and that's the entire, the jail, the highway department, all of that, that's how much money comes out of that much assessed value in the first year based on that tax increment funding, right?
Right.
The second year, you see it starts elevating. As you're able to the tax increment funding stuff starts going to when the fifth year, that's the value that you get, the 74,000 thing. So in 2021, if the county gets 14.8, and these are projections, I want to make sure that everybody knows they're projections. And if we do, say the post-construction the project construction is completed, if you would give all of that money to the highway department, it wouldn't hardly haul much gravel onto to a road that's in need of repair after construction. Comprende? So the bottom line is that don't give up the farm in this thing.
Have they applied for a TIF yet, Gary, do you know?
A what?
Have they applied for the tax increment?
I don't know. I think that comes from the state, right?
Usually the developer is going to make application to the county for a TIF. So, and I didn't know if they've applied or not. So.
As far as I know, they haven't applied.
And consider this isn't preempted, but consider 5 years down the road, if the county does commit to improvements for Hall Road, and I'm speculating that Highway 12 south of the complex, that's how much taxes come to the county, but the highway department doesn't see that kind of a value.
What's, this number on top is way a third less of what was projected.
Because you can't tax concrete, you can't tax construction, you can only tax structures. Right?
Right.
I mean, this is just the property tax side of this, correct?
This is the property tax side. The only source of revenue that we would theoretically be getting to support road maintenance of roads in the area.
But now, what about the state sales tax dollars? That we can direct how we want to on that, correct?
Well, right now, we don't have a county sales tax, right?
No, I think what you're talking about is that money that we'll be getting based on.
From the state,
That-
reimbursement from
Yeah,
the state.
and it's a one-time,
That's just
that's a one-time
Right.
deal.
And we don't know what that dollar amount is, but that would go into the county general fund.
And then we can decide how we want to, because there's no strings attached to that,
Right.
how we want to spend
There's
it.
no
Correct.
restrictions.
From what I've heard.
Okay.
School won't get part of it.
No, not that.
I think this is.
On the sales tax, I don't think the schools get that unless we decide to give some to the schools, but.
And I think what Gary is saying is if we get that money, remember the highway department, because the highway department's going to be spending much more than it's going to be getting back. Fair statement, Gary?
No, I'm looking at 5 years down the road, if there's an asphalt surface and we're chip sealing every 5 years at a cost of $150,000 every 5th year, you eventually sell the farm by the revenues aren't meeting the expenditures. So,
Off of the sales tax.
Yes, Ben?
Have you considered that other form of levying for for road and bridge?
The secondary road tax, or what are you?
What?
Secondary road.
Yeah, they passed it a couple years ago, but each county has to. I can't remember what that symbol number was. When Ryan was still here, he was looking into it.
That's what it is. Secondary road.
But it would be an additional levy for road.
Right.
Since County Road 101, and I keep bringing that up, that I'm looking at Highway 12 south of the facility. That's a county highway system road whereby if you did opt out of the secondary road tax levy, you couldn't use it on a county highway system road. It would only be for secondary roads, so.
And I think you have plenty of, the secondary road account is probably doing just fine right at this time.
Anything else, Gary?
I'm done.
You sure?
Yeah, I got one little thing. I'm considering a grade raise on the road east of West Mosers. It's flooded. We did a survey, drilled a hole in the ice, determined that the average water depth in 800 feet is 8 inches. 8 inches is doable with the grade raise. You dump on one end, we've got the dozer unit now where we doze it across through the water. There have been a couple of comments that not supporting it for the fact that we're displacing water. By saying that if there's 8 inches of water over the road and you push dirt in, now you're displacing the water and pushing it off the road. And in theory, it's going to expand the boundaries of the wetland and flood more acreage. Calculated we need 1,500 cubic yards of fill material to provide our needs. 1,500 cubic yards converts to 125,000 gallons of water. The area is 3 or 4 acres. Reality, I don't think you'll see a lake elevation raise at all because it's minimal. I'm looking at over the winter months, either Charlie Salverson said he would provide fill material from the borrow site we used on another grade raise on the county line. And I'm thinking over the winter when everything is frozen is a good time to stockpile it on the Blue Blanket Road. It would be a peak of gravel. Blue Blanket is currently closed for access. And why not do it? You minimize road damage by hauling it when the ground's froze. And it's on site next spring when the ice out occurs and away we go, right over the top. Some concerns. Likelihood of resulting in litigation. I don't think there's much. I think we can do what we perceive as necessary in a situation like that, and if litigation happens, it happens, so.
I would agree with you.
The other option was open the road grade up, and we discussed that, and it's like, I'm not gonna take a body of water and put it on somebody else's property. So, this is the safest, most effective means, so.
Would it help to put in culverts underneath of the?
There is an equalizer pipe, and by saying equalizer pipe is merely to take the water from this side of the road to that side to make the water level the same elevation on both sides. In the event that we do a grade raise, there's a possibility that slough will plug the end of the pipe up, but it's our obligation once the grade is reestablished We locate the pipe ends, maybe push some dirt over the top of it to dike it up, and then we go in and take that section off, put a new one in, and open up drainage so that it's uniform water depth on both sides, so. Kind of an ironic thing, when they were talking Corps of Engineers involvement, and since that's a FEMA site, we have to apply for a Corps of Engineers 404 permit, which is the Corps of Engineers saying that you're placing fills in the wetlands and you can proceed under a nationwide permit. The Corps of Engineers responded in the application and said, that's out of our jurisdiction, but since it's a FEMA site, you're going to have a DR form. So we make applications for a disaster relief form, and now FEMA is saying that if you go across with a grade raise, we're going to have to pull the site from consideration for FEMA damages. The theory is that they can't see if there's road damage of the grade underneath the water, and if we go through it and we cover up the damage, FEMA is saying no. So I very easily am going to avoid any funding from FEMA by going across. The time has come. It's been flooded long enough, the water levels are low enough to where we're going. And we did, while we were there, we did reference 3 spots on the Blue Blanket Road, that 5/8 of a mile flooded area. The average water depth was 27 inches. So it's going to be a long time before that. You know, I could see doing a grade raise in 6 inches, 8 inches, but it takes a lot of dirt to displace 27 inches of water, so.
That's the county road?
Yep.
Don't say anything was that deep.
It's a big body of water though.
So water over the road isn't considered damage to the road?
And actual comments from FEMA is that that won't be a FEMA site, but it could be a state site. FEMA is saying the state isn't endorsing grade raises, and neither is FEMA. So they're ultimately saying that grade raises are an improvement, and that should be a maintenance factor. And that's the federal government at work for you, so.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Josh?
I won't try and confuse anybody. First thing I have on there is jail housing contract with Hughes County for emergency adult bed space. I provided the auditor with the contract. Asked for a motion to approve that by the board with the chairman signing.
It's a rate of $80 per day.
I'll take a motion for that. Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
Second, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed.
Next thing I have is motion to transfer funds from general fund back to sheriff's office budget line item repairs and maintenance in the amount of $3,593.88. That'd be a insurance check deposited by the county in the general fund for a damaged patrol car on New Year's Eve. Had a accident down by Yankton during a transport. The officer wasn't hurt, actually avoided a head-on collision, so.
I need a motion for that. I so move. Okay, I got a motion on the floor. I need a second.
I'll second.
Got a second. Any more discussion on that? Okay.
Josh, the amount you have on here is $3,593.88. think the check was $4,061.38, is there a reason for the difference?
I'm just going by what sent me originally.
Okay,
So the repairs came in a little bit less than that. I believe it was based off of an initial estimate.
okay, because what they actually sent was the $4,061.38, so is that the amount we're gonna want, like, that's all that it costed you?
Correct.
So we'll just go with your amount then? the
Correct,
cost of the
that's what I
repairs.
vouchered out of my
Okay.
repairs and
Okay,
maintenance.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Correct.
Any more discussion? Here none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 21, executive session for a legal matter.
You had requested that be on here for the landfill.
We don't need anything right
I
now.
know, that's what I was,
We have gotten some stuff to look at, but we haven't heard back from our engineer. That's kind of what we're waiting on, right?
yeah, we haven't gotten a payment request. So,
So we're good.
Okay, we don't need old business.
Does this report from the landfill reflect how much money we collected in interest? Because back here, I can't comprehend how much.
it does not reflect what we've collected in interest because we haven't really collected much. People getting charged interest aren't paying. But the ones that are paying that are being charged interest, I can print you what they're being charged.
The ones that aren't paying, you say? What was that?
Okay, everybody that's behind is getting charged interest.
Yeah.
Okay, I can provide you a report of what they're being charged. It's not in there, but I can provide it. But you said how much was collected. Because they're behind, as they pay like $20,000, how much of it's going to interest. Do you understand what I mean? I can tell you what they've been charged.
Yeah.
They're still just giving the 20, is that including?
No, they're paying 22. Yes, they're all being charged. Both of our main haulers have been charged interest every month. I can tell you that my revenue in January was over 82,000.
And Standing Rock is still over 90 days,
Yes.
so we're,
However, when I did their billing for December, they had only accumulated 12,000 and they've been steadily paying 22,000 on the first of every month. So it's getting down a lot faster than it used to be.
our motion was if they're over 90 days, they don't haul to us anymore.
I had requested to put that back on the agenda because the motion was made when I was not here. And I requested that out of somebody, and it hasn't been addressed yet. Because I didn't think that motion was really quite fair. I've been working really hard to get them down, and they have been coming down. When I took over, they were 129,000 back due. And that hasn't even been a year, and I think I've made very well progress with them. And if I seen them barely paying over what they charge every month, I could see cutting them off, but they've been paying a significant amount more than what they charge every month.
The only thing is that you already passed the motion saying that if you're after 90 days delinquent, you're supposed to cease operation with them, and not allow them in the landfill, and we're still doing it. So,
But I thought as long as they brought the money with them.
no, if you're delinquent after 90 days, you are to be shut down.
Until paid in full, and then cash basis only after that.
And that motion was made when I was in here. And I had requested that motion be brought back up because
I mean, we should have cut
I think
them
the
off
way
as
it's
of the
going.
1st of January, and we still haven't done it.
I think the way it's been going very well.
Let's put it on the next agenda.
So what do you do in the time being, since technically they should not have been dumping in our landfill for over a month?
That was our motion in the past.
Easiest way to get them to pay up is cut them off right now. If they don't want to pay us, they can go somewhere else. We've already made that rule, why do we even do it then? Standing Rock's been delinquent for how long?
Since
Years.
I've been on the board,
And
it's never been current.
I would love to have the county pay my mortgage for free.
I would guess if we cut them off, we could probably end up with absolutely nothing, I'm gonna guess.
That's, we've been using them as, they've been using us as a bank for years. I would love to not have to pay interest on my mortgage. Will the county pay for my mortgage, and then I'll just pay you back as I want? That's what we're doing. And we've already voted to cut them off, and we still are not. So why do we have rules?
Here's Becky.
I don't think it's right.
Whether it's right or wrong, it was passed by the commission.
Without-
Are you gonna follow your actions or not? That's my whole question. Why do we even vote then? Why do we even have rules? Why do we have ordinances? Why do we have zoning? And this is a county that needs money.
I also asked Kevin, if Brian would have been still the landfill supervisor, without him being at that meeting, would you guys have voted on that motion?
Probably not.
The point is that it's irrelevant that we have a policy in effect that we cut them off and we're not following
I
it.
voted against it. I didn't vote for it.
So, what is the difference if Brian, it wouldn't have been done with Brian gone, why was it done with me gone?
The point is that it was done.
I get that, but I just wanted to bring that up.
All I'm saying is, why do you guys have a commission meeting then? You make rules and you don't follow them. These guys should have been cut off a month ago. And they've owed us for years. Interest-free. So basically, are you saying to the taxpayers that they don't need to pay their property taxes? That they're not going to get assessed a penalty? We're treating these entities totally different than every other taxpayer in the county. We assess penalties all the time. And these guys have
Well,
been
they're
delinquent.
being charged interest now, just like taxpayers that are delinquent on their taxes.
But the point is the county commission had a motion, voted that interest would be charged and that the entities would be cut off after 90 days. And now we're still letting them use our landfill when they're supposed to be cut off as of January 1st, which should have been done.
Technically, we give them 6 months to pay up, he didn't do it. To get current,
And this was passed how many months ago?
July.
They've had 6 months' notice, and you guys are still letting them ride. Like I said, can you guys pay my mortgage, and I'll just let you guys pay the bill, and I'll pay you off as I want? Because that's exactly what you're doing.
But didn't we make an agreement with them that if they paid the $20,000 a month?
That was way before the vote. You need to start charging interest as of what date, Mr. Howe? October 1st on delinquent? And that they would be cut off after 90 days. That was January 1st, and you still haven't cut them off. So as a taxpayer, this is me as a taxpayer,
So which agreement do we go by?
they're cut off. They should have been cut off January 1st. You guys did not. Or your landfill superintendent did not cut them off as directed by the Walworth County Commission.
Can I just point out that the landfill is not run on tax dollars, it's run on, it makes its own money, and there's no tax dollars
It
going
is
towards
owned
the landfill.
by Walworth County.
Right, but I'm saying no tax dollars is going to the
It's irrelevant.
landfill.
So, every taxpayer that's watching this, why should you pay your taxes? Why should you pay penalty on your taxes? Why should you pay anything when you're not gonna enforce it? Either, because basically your superintendent should have done this a month ago.
I got a question, then why do we let a taxpayer come in here and set up a payment arrangements?
To try and collect. But what do we do when they don't pay, as you requested? We take it away from them.
Not on that short of notice.
But they are paying, but
They are paying.
We gave them
They're
6 months'
actually
notice.
increased what they're paying.
So I guess my question to the commission is
22,000.
why did you approve this if you never planned on doing it?
I just asked them if they would have approved it if.
It doesn't matter, they voted for it.
Right, I get that, and they shouldn't have.
Well, but that's water under the bridge, and now you're changing your rules in the middle of stream.
I'll cut them off just as soon as they tell me to.
Well, they should have been cut off the 1st of January.
Ew, they're cut off as of right now then, I guess I'll
That's
have
what
to
it
call
should
out
be.
there and let them
You
know.
should have automatically done it. You didn't need guidance from them, it was already given to you. You failed to do that. Is it true?
Just have me arrested again.
Probably. That's not my fault you don't do your job, and I'm not gonna sit here.
Excuse me, Mr. Hare, I think that there are some very, very,
Were you directed or not by the Walworth County Commission?
Are you directed or not by law to do your job? Maybe you should look at that
Let's put it back on the agenda for next.
So they cut off or not?
first. Right now, they're cut off,
That's what it should be. You should have done it a month ago.
and there's a lot of things you should have done a month ago.
Sure. Let's put it back on the agenda for next meeting.
Any new business? Here now, I take a motion to adjourn.
Or three? I'm taking Woolgard at home.
All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Opposed, say nay. Motion passes.